Hello and good evening, everybody. Gordon, Dill, and Amy Wood. We are your local election headquarters. Big night in Spartanburg County, Amy.
That's right. We got a sheriff's race and a county council race, and they are tight. The top getters of these votes are doing really well, and they are neck and neck, Gordon.
Yeah, take a look here. So what's interesting, the first round, this is a primary for Spartanburg County Sheriff. We're going to start there. That's the race that's attracted the most attention. Very likely, Amy, going to a runoff. The rules in South Carolina in a primary like this, to avoid a runoff, you need a majority, meaning exactly 50% of the vote plus one vote.
Yep.
And it looks like with about 44% of the vote in, the first two candidates would go on to that runoff, and it looks so far like it's going to be Bill Ryan and Rusty Clevenger. Early enough, though, Amy, that Robert Cheeks at least could still get into that runoff.
That's right, because we only have that 44% vote total at this moment. So lots to consider and think about. 9 people putting their soul and their treasure into this. You know, it's been really remarkable to see this many candidates commit to the race. And I know it's a tough night for those who are on the bottom side of things, but we all appreciate folks getting out there and running for public office.
Absolutely. It's worth admiring people willing to run for this. Somebody who has run for office before, likely one of those in the runoff, at least so far in the runoff, with 44% of the vote in. As we begin our coverage live here on WSPA Plus, is Rusty Clevenger.
That's right.
Clevenger is the current coroner of Spartanburg County, now trying to change over to become the sheriff, and that is where our Taylor Murray is standing by, I believe, live right now with Coroner Rusty Clevenger. Taylor, can you hear us? Take it away.
Correct, Gordon and Amy, good evening. Yeah, I'm here live with Rusty Clevenger. You mentioned he's the current Spartanburg County coroner, and we're actually here at Carter's Steak and Seafood in Inman, surrounded by his closest friends and family, all here anxiously watching the polls, as we all are. You mentioned it, this is a really crowded field of candidates, a seat that's not open often. And so I just want to talk with you, Rusty, a little bit about how you're feeling as you're neck and neck with Bill Ryan right now.
All you can do is put your platform out, talk to people about the experience you want to offer. I've got 40 years. I've got managerial skills. I'm, I believe, the only candidate that can go in day one and explain to administration our needs, file for a balanced budget within the sheriff's office, and I believe I can get the cooperation with council as well, put the sheriff's office back on track as quick as possible.
Let's talk a little bit about the things that you want to focus on if elected sheriff. I know previously we talked to you and you mentioned that you want to boost pay for deputies. What else are you going to focus on if you're elected?
The training for the deputies. We're going to put more deputies back on the street. Right now we're short on the level of deputies. A deputy is a crime deterrent, and it's also the backbone of the sheriff's office. We've got to get the sheriff's office back up to the strength that the citizens expect, and that's what I'm going to do. We're going to put these people back to work, well, when we say back to work, we're going to fill the positions that are open, make the citizens feel safer, and we've got to be able to retain deputies. We don't have a recruitment problem. We need to be able to retain these deputies, and that's what I look to do.
All right, and you want to talk a little bit more about that experience you briefly mentioned to me?
Yes, I mean the managerial part of it. Again, I began at the very bottom as uniform patrol at the sheriff's office, worked my way up to narcotics and vice, and then up to detective. 11-year stint at the sheriff's office, where the last 5 was in homicide, and I took some of the worst criminals off the street, made sure that they were prosecuted, where the people didn't have to worry about those anymore. Then I went to prosecution, which is a higher level than what I was doing then, helped make sure that the people that didn't need to be on our streets were gone. And in the last years, the job that I'm currently in, I brought that office up to an extremely high standard. I believe I've got the track record that Spartanburg needs to step right in here as their sheriff and bring their sheriff's office back up to where we need to be.
Well, Rusty Clevenger, y'all, thank you so much for being with us here today. We're going to be out here monitoring the polls live from his watch party here in Inman, and we're going to update you on any updates that come out regarding your race. And I'll send things back to you now, Gordon and Amy, in the digital studio. This is Taylor Murray reporting live in Inman.
Taylor, thank you for that. We appreciate hearing live from the candidates whenever we can. At the moment, let's go back to the numbers, still at about 44% of the vote in. It still looks like Coroner Clevenger would be in that runoff if the voting ended right now, Amy, but again, a long way to go. And the person in first place so far is Bill Ryan, a former state trooper.
And it's interesting because these leads have held roughly from the early voting that we saw, the first 5,000 or so votes that came in. And now we want to go and check out what's happening at the Bill Ryan party. We have our Lauren Miller standing by there. And I know it looks to be like Ryan may be finishing up in the top and able to go to the runoff. What are folks saying there? They've got to be excited.
Yeah, absolutely, Amy. I mean, we've been trying to kind of conversate with some of the people around here. There's some excited people. I mean, there's some friends, and Bill Ryan has got some family here as well. He actually spoke with the crowd about, I would say, like 30 minutes ago. During that time, he really honed in on expecting that there was going to be a runoff election, saying that it's been a strong 10 weeks of campaigning, but he's expecting another 2 weeks of this as well. I was able to jot down a few notes. I mean, he talked a lot about how he ran his campaign, saying that it was a clean one, and he continues to run with transparency and change when it comes to cleaning up the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office. We're waiting to see if we can talk with him a little bit later tonight. Right now, he's not speaking with media, just still seeing if those results are going to change in any way. They've been kind of neck and neck, and that's what we've been saying to some people here. He also talked a lot about how he wanted to build the trust back within the community, and like you said, I mean, if there is a runoff that's supposed to be coming, that'll be 2 weeks from today, I believe. But I can hand it back to you guys. It's been a fun time here so far.
Yeah, looks like a good turnout, and we can't wait. Maybe we'll get to talk to him a little bit later when things finalize, because that's always exciting. But we do have what you heard, Lauren. Lauren was there when he spoke, and we have actually some video to roll on that.
Let's play that.
Hey, I just appreciate everybody being out tonight. You know, right this minute, based on what we're seeing, it looks like pretty solid that we're into the runoff at this point in time. You know, we've had a tremendous amount of support. All of you guys that have been in this room have been behind us from the get-go. We still got a long way to go. We can't stop now. We've got 2 more weeks of running. We've been running really hard for the last 10 weeks, but the good thing is there's only 2 weeks left. You know, we've run a solid campaign. We've run a very clean campaign this entire time. That's what people can expect to continue to see from me as we move forward. You know, I'm a conservative Republican. I'm going to stand on that conservative Republican base as we complete this. I'm going to continue to run on transparency, accountability, changing the culture at the Sheriff's Office. I appreciate everybody's support. You know, we can't stop, though. We got to keep our heads down. All of you guys that are here, you need to be talking to everybody. You need to get everybody back out to the polls in the next 2 weeks, because it is going to be very, very important that we have them out there, because this is the most important election, truthfully, at the Sheriff's Office in the history of Spartanburg County. And we've got to have the support. I appreciate all of your support, and look forward to seeing y'all again in 2 weeks when we put this away.
One of my favorite campaignisms is every candidate who's ever run for anything in order to energize their supporters will tell you it is the most important election in the history of elections.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not to minimize it. It is certainly a very important election, but it is something you hear a lot in campaign season.
And it's interesting. Both he and Clevenger have long histories in the law enforcement community here. Yeah. He's 30 years in law enforcement, a retired state trooper. He's worked at the Sheriff's Office in his past. Rusty Clevenger, too, a long history of law enforcement, and of course the side of it, unfortunately, the death side of it with the coroner's job. But he's worked hand in hand with investigators for years.
I do wonder, let me put the results back up here for folks, because as we're still at 44%, one thing that is interesting in a special election where we expect a little bit lower turnout than you would in a normal primary, and then frankly not having a president or a governor on there depresses turnout a little bit as well. So I do wonder how much and it looks like look at this, Amy, just updated to 77%.
Wow.
Bill Ryan still holding on the top. Rusty Clevenger still holding on to second place, and in fact expanding the gap between them and Robert Cheeks.
That's right.
In third place. So this
solidifying
is now very much looking like the runoff between Bill Ryan and Rusty Clevenger. I do wonder, those are two people. Bill Ryan for a long time was the public information officer for the State Highway Patrol. So he's somebody who would have appeared on our airwaves a lot.
True.
Rusty Clevenger, being the coroner in Spartanburg County, would have
TV
appeared
a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And I do wonder if in an election with a little bit less turnout, that familiarity, that recognition for voters has made a bit of a difference.
And it's also interesting to see, what the various candidates, be fun to get a political Politico type in to look at the campaigns in terms of what they did. Were they on social media? Were they talking to people? Were they getting the word out? I got texts. I live in Spartanburg County, so I got texts from a whole bunch of campaigns.
Did you get the negative ones? Because there were some voters sent some in that were very specific, negative, anonymous, targeted texts, anti-Bill Ryan and anti-Rusty Clevenger.
They skipped me on that.
Okay, well, see, they might have made it on the news.
I got all the rest of them, though.
had that happened. But it is interesting that whomever was sending out those texts had a sense that Ryan and Clevenger were the front runners here.
Interesting.
Because that's who the negative attacks were.
Usually go after you.
We'll keep an eye on this, Amy. I do also want to go on to one other special election we're following out here today. Let's call up Spartanburg County Council. This is the 3rd district. This is the one held for a very long time by another guy who was on our air a lot, David Britt, a county council member. And as you can see, Amy, 77% of the results here, and this looks like another runoff.
Absolutely. Jason Lynch, who is leading the pack at this point with 36.6% of the vote, he's the general counsel for OTO development. He has had a big role in the business community here. He has run on a position of being a conservative outsider, not a politician, wants to preserve quality of life, support first responders, improve growth management, protect taxpayers, and cut waste. That's been his sort of shtick. But then you've got Paul Abbott Jr., who's right behind him here, and he also is a lifelong Spartanburg County resident. He is a small business owner, a former attorney. He's been a magistrate judge, and he has talked about fiscal discipline, resisting tax hikes, emphasizing personal accessibility, board level involvement, broader community representation. So everybody kind of taking their own spin on these jobs. But this is a job in terms of the David Britt seat that has been very much held by a business guy, right? I mean, he was a longtime business guy. He was the longtime county council chair.
Our go-to interview for, hey, there's a business development project.
Economic development, for sure. So it's interesting that we're seeing the Jason Lynch, who is in that business community background, doing as well as he's doing.
So let's get more on that race. Our Julia Keener has been standing by in Spartanburg County. She's, I believe, at the election headquarters for us out there tonight, where they are counting all those votes. Julia, bring us up to speed on this race.
Yep, everything you all just said is exactly correct, and I'm here at the election headquarters right in front of the loading zone that's actually been quiet for the past 20 or so minutes, but that's exciting because the less frequent we see cars coming in, you know, that means the more precincts have entered their votes, and the closer we are to that final result. I spoke with Jason Lynch, one of the candidates, just right after that first round of preliminary votes came in, you know, and he said the same thing, that filling the shoes of someone like David Britt, who had been there for 34 years, you know, that's a lot to do. Those are very big shoes to fill, but he's excited and kind of even spoke to his other candidate, Paul Abbott. You know, the two of them are both here for good reason, both telling me that they just want to see Spartanburg County continue to thrive, but they'll continue to communicate with their constituents over the next 2 weeks as they're hopeful, and it looks like the numbers that we're seeing will send them into that runoff. Lynch had also said that this election, he was happy to see so many voters in District 3 show out. I'm looking at the numbers now. It looks out of almost the 20,000, you know, recorded votes that we have, nearly 5,000 of those were in District 3. He said that's huge because everyone that showed out today will be the constituents that he or Abbott will be talking to on a regular basis. So I know he's excited, but he wanted to contain some of his excitement until those final results came in. But we can give you guys a live look. They're tallying up those final votes, and hopefully we will have our final results here in a couple minutes.
There we go. It's hard to imagine at this point that this could avoid a runoff featuring Bill Ryan and Rusty Clevenger. Amy, I mean, 23% of the vote left, but it would have to almost all of it come in for Robert Cheeks at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this transpires. We of course are going to be following this. If there is a runoff, which it looks like we're going to have that's in 2 weeks, so 2 more weeks to go. Like you heard one of the candidates talking about, they now have to campaign again. It's kind of like starting from scratch, trying to build and grab all the supporters of these other candidates to come their way and go ahead and throw their vote in the next election, which will happen. The next runoff will be in 2 weeks. And remember, even if you didn't vote in the primary, even if you're sitting at home watching this right now, you can show up and vote when they go to vote in 2 weeks. So you don't have to have voted today to be able to do that in 2 weeks.
That's exactly right, Amy. And you want to get nerdy with this? Let's get nerdy, shall we?
Okay, let's get nerdy.
Let's go on the web here. I'm always interested. I'm getting this directly from the Spartanburg County election office here, and the reason I pull it up is I'm always interested to know, you heard Julia mention about 20,000 votes cast so far. If you look down here, you can see the total. That is about 20,506 votes counted so far, with about 77% of the vote in. And the thing we noticed, Amy, when those votes started coming in, the first ones they counted was that 5,300 votes that were the early vote, right? And it's interesting to me that the breakdown, the percentages by candidate in these races is about the same. Early vote to election day. 3-to-1 more people waited to election day, but it's not as if one candidate or another has a
massive,
not at all.
It
really
seems to have held. I was saying that early on too. It seems to be the story that we saw in the early vote seems to be playing out again as these numbers roll out. So we'll see how it all winds up tonight. You know, we have the news at 10 on the CW and news at 11 on Channel 7. So we will be with you all evening as these votes get finalized, to be able to bring you true totals and the latest on what the candidates are saying and when those runoffs might take place.
It's something that first of all, I do also want to say, you mentioned the news on the sort of traditional news at 10 and 11 on the CW and 11. This is the first time we've done this, so this is kind of fun and exciting. And I like the idea now that we can cut in and bring you live election results for people who really want live election results, and we will never again get the phone call from people who wanted to watch whatever's on Channel 7.
That's right.
Say, why are you
We're not covering up your show.
You can watch the show if you want. You can get the election results if you want. So one of the things we were able to do, because we had this studio, was bring each of the candidates in to get to know all 9 of them a little better. We gave each of them a half hour, and sometimes as these elections progress, and in this case, as we get to a runoff, I do think maybe the interviews become a little more directed. But what we wanted to do with those 9 candidates was ask the same basic questions of all 9 of them.
That's right.
The idea being, it's not about us trying to grill somebody. It's let's just see if you can get a sense of who this candidate is.
Exactly.
So you interviewed Bill Ryan, who, not Bill Ryan, I'm sorry, Rusty Clevenger.
I did Clevenger,
Rusty Clevenger.
Yes.
And so I think was one of the first we did. Do you think there was something from that interview that truly conveyed what he is delivering in this election result?
I mean, he's familiar, and he told his law enforcement story and his background and his care for the department and his concern for the deputies. I mean, I think he front and center wants to let the deputies know they're going to be okay, they're going to be taken care of, and he wants to get them better pay and all the things, you know. So I think he really spoke to that, and that has been a big issue. And when you multiply out, you know, all the law enforcement folks in our community and their families and their relatives, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of voters that are impacted. So the messaging to the force itself has been important during this election.
I tell you what, I have a little bit of your interview with him. Let's play a little bit of that right here.
There are some fine people that still work within the walls of our Spartanburg Sheriff's Office. All they need is someone to believe in them. I believe the current sheriff is doing the same thing, but all they need is someone to believe in them, to make sure they're getting the right training, a decent pay, and a decent way to do their job, where they're not just running call to call to call, and they actually get to look after the public like they took an oath to do.
That
sums up kind of what I was saying, right? I mean,
Go ahead.
No, he definitely has concern for that, and also, you know, integrity, right? He feels like he's had integrity in his office as the coroner and wants to expand that to the sheriff's office. I should note, he will be taking a pay cut if he wins.
Oh, so
It's
I'm glad you mentioned
it's
that.
less. He's earning like 123-ish, and this job pays 100,000. He's hopeful that county council would try to, you know, get back to where he is right now. But yeah, I mean, he literally is willing to take a pay cut to get the job.
I'm glad you brought that up because we had not mentioned that yet in our coverage here. Is when Spartanburg, former Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright resigned from office, his salary was well over $200,000 a year, and one of the actions council took in regards to this sort of financial situation at the sheriff's office was to cut that pay by more than half. And I don't have a breakdown of the salaries of the sheriff's office here now, although that's a public record. I guess we can go get that.
But for other sheriffs in other counties?
It does not compare. It does not compare. There are other sheriffs that make a lot more, and my hunch is there are deputies at the sheriff's office making more than the incoming sheriff will be making. You know,
potentially, yeah,
potentially.
I don't know.
Although, again, no, you don't want a sheriff doing sheriffing for the money, but
no.
Still. And the other issue, the one thing that I think we got from all 9 of these candidates as we talked to them, as we went back and listened to these different interviews, is that you mentioned deputy pay. That is a uniform concern for sheriffs in every county in South Carolina. Every jail in the upstate is understaffed. Every sheriff in the upstate, if you show them a Class 1 certified officer who can start tomorrow, they will start tomorrow. They are all very eager to bring bodies into the building. It's hard to find somebody who has the ability and the willingness to take those jobs, and I think that is uniformly one of the biggest concerns for these guys.
Yeah, and turnover is the biggest problem they face. Not only holding on to them, but having the turnover and having to retrain or bring people on, and that learning curve is rough, right? I mean, we know what it's like being young journalists versus experienced journalists. I mean, it makes a difference in what you can do and how good you are at what you do. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out and how the salary also plays out over time, because I do think to compete with other counties, they're going to have to probably make things more competitive.
We'll check back in with the results here so far. Still at 77%, as you saw Julia giving us that rare look inside.
That was cool.
That is cool to see them actually counting those votes. What they do is those voting machines are not online. They're never online. They tabulate them sort of individually, and then they have that printed copy that comes out, and then they bring that tabulator. They literally drive it. It never goes online. Drive it to that county.
You could see lines of machines lined up there as they do the tabulating, put it all in, and get the official count done. But you can still see that Bill Ryan is ahead of Rusty Clevenger. It's 27.5% to 25.6%. Just hundreds of votes separating them. And then Robert Cheeks has fallen back a little bit from where he was at about 18.1%. He'd been laying at about 21% or so for a lot of the night. So that's 77% of the vote in. I wonder how long it's going to take. I think we heard from county election officials. They felt like by maybe 10:30 they would have everything rounded up. So we're getting closer to that time of the evening, and hopefully during our 10 o'clock show on the CW, we'll be able to maybe have some final numbers.
That would be fantastic. You mentioned Robert Cheeks, sort of the only remaining candidate with a chance at this point to crack into that runoff. We did interview him as well. Let's hear a little bit from Robert Cheeks.
Great.
I want the deputies to understand, as their sheriff, that I have the full and utmost confidence in their abilities. I trust the decisions that they make, and without a doubt, day or night, that I have their back.
So that's Robert Cheeks there. The other person, obviously the person still leading in this primary, is Bill Ryan, the former state trooper. We've both known Bill Ryan for a number of years from our interviews with him. I can tell you that he has mentioned the idea of running for sheriff for years.
Wow.
For years, this idea has come up, and as long as Chuck Wright was winning that office year after year after year, he never did throw his name in there, and now it is an open seat because there is an interim sheriff, as you, if you're watching this, I'm sure you know, an interim sheriff who came over, was the chief deputy in Cherokee County. Governor appoints an interim to fill out the remainder of the term until we can get one of these candidates in office. As you mentioned, Amy, that runoff is always 2 weeks after the primary.
That's
so we've
right.
got the primary now. It seems very likely that 2 weeks from right now, we're going to be looking to find out who wins between Bill Ryan and Rusty Clevenger. I think our experience is with these kind of things, it doesn't matter anymore who got the most votes in the primary. That should not be considered predictive of what's going to happen in the runoff.
It doesn't necessarily.
It doesn't mean a thing.
That's right. It's a whole new race. It's like another 2-week election where they will go out there and beat the doors and text your phones and do whatever they can to get their message out and to try to convince you that they are the person for whether it be county council, sheriff, whatever race. This is their last-ditch effort to convince you during that runoff.
All right, we're keeping an eye on these election results. We thank you for joining us on this very special broadcast on WSPA+.
We'll probably do this again if we have a runoff in 2 weeks.
Because
You know?
I like doing this.
I think we will
and
do
it's
this
fun.
again.
And it gives us a chance to really sort of look into these races and as we get more candidates. I mean, look, you and I, we do like to talk, but we did just eat up a whole half hour of everybody's time with 2 races. Imagine
you
if
for
we had
watching.
like 11 of these things. So we do
Oh,
thank
boy.
you for watching, everybody. We're going to take a few breaks. You're watching WSPA+. Our election coverage continues, as Amy said, at 7 News at 10 on the CW62, 7 News at 11 on WSPA. Amy will be with me all night long. covering
Yeah,
these
special
election
night.
results. All right. Thank you for watching, everybody.